Hello all, this is Dr. Dave Maslach talking to you about reciprocity.com. The E is written with a 3, and in this particular video, I'm going to talk to you about how to actually deal with loneliness when you're doing your PhD. So if you don't know me, I'm a professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship, and I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There were so many people that helped me out to get through graduate school that I decided to pay the favor forward and help you out as well. All right, so what I'm going to do in this video is go through maybe some reasons why you're going to feel lonely during your PhD, and then get into how do you actually deal with this loneliness. And these are just kind of tips and tricks that I've learned personally in terms of dealing with it. But the first thing I'm going to point out, if you're feeling extremely blue and this is not going away and this is kind of a regular thing for you, make sure you do go and talk to professional help. There's a lot of different resources on your campus. There's probably a lot of different resources that you can get access to in your city. Make sure you go and talk to them. Go talk to your physician if you need to. Make sure you just go and talk to somebody. Let a friend know that you're feeling especially blue. If this is the thing that you're experiencing, it is really, really important for you to do that. Why might you feel sort of not good in terms of, lonely when you are doing your PhD? And this is just my own experience, what happens. So in your first couple of years, it's really exciting. You're doing a lot of interacting with other people. You're taking coursework. And it's really exciting because you're learning all these different ideas, you are meeting with different professors, you are interacting with different colleagues, for example, some friends and other students that are around you. But then after your second year, after you do your comprehensive exams, you are kind of off to the races and you're expected to do things independently at that moment, where you have to basically do your own research and sort of run your own course. And at a lot of places, it is completely normal for you to sort of pick things, and in fact, it's encouraged for you to pick your own sort of research trajectory and kind of develop what you are interested in. And so when that happens, you feel very alone. Not only are you actually physically alone a lot, because there's a lot of thinking that happens throughout it. And professors have to have a lot of alone time because there's lots of independent thinking where you're thinking, by yourself. Sometimes what you'll do if you work with groups, which is normal as well, you will meet for a brief period and you'll maybe have a fun little conversation, and then you will go and work independently for a week, right? It'll be by yourself. And what ends up happening is that nobody else knows what you're really working on. There might be a few people. So your advisor, for example, maybe it is somebody that you know very well and they're also in the PhD program, or they're a PhD themselves. You can have a conversation with them and you'll kind of talk to them about this kind of various different things that you're experiencing. And they're going to know what you're going through. But because you're specialized and you're doing one thing that nobody else has done ever, that's really what research is. And especially if you're doing more and more novel things, novelty means you're the only person that has actually done that thing. It is a brand new idea. So nobody else is kind of experiencing what you're experiencing, going through this sort of knowledge discovery process and search process that nobody else has done before, right? That you are going through and you're discovering something that's really interesting and you're like, wow, this is cool. You have nobody to talk to about that. Or you come across a really cool research paper, you probably don't have anybody to talk to about that. And so you do get a real sense of loneliness. And there's also sort of moments where it does feel like a grind. If you're writing, for example, so when I'm analyzing papers or analyzing the my data and stuff, I don't necessarily feel all that alone. It's actually kind of exciting because you're seeing this new data and you're going through it. But when you are writing and it's a grind, so me physically, I have a real tough time with writing. I found out that I had ADHD in the last few years, and which I was like, me? No, but no, I do. But anyways, it's a real struggle for me to write, and so it is tough, right, to actually go through this sort of moments of actually writing stuff and going through that. So you do feel a lot of very alone because you're expending all these resources, right? that you have to be focused independently. You can't, it's very difficult to sort of work with other people typing things, So there are different ways and strategies to deal with this loneliness. So once again, we all deal with it. Even as professors, you have to definitely deal with feeling alone on a regular basis. So it's kind of funny when we're at our office, a lot of people will have the door closed, or that they'll be focused on their own research and you don't want to disturb them and talk to them, and so you still feel pretty alone and you're working independently, even though you might be working in a group or working as a cohort on a particular project. It is still very, very much alone, and you're kind of very independent at that moment. So a lot of us get used to it in terms of this feeling of loneliness, but it doesn't mean that it's like a good thing, right? So in terms of how I actually deal with this loneliness during your PhD, and maybe you can sort of think about implementing some of this kind of stuff, there's various different tips and tricks that I've sort of dealt with, and sort of, as a whole, I've had to sort of do. The first thing is, when I'm feeling especially alone and blue, normally what it means is I'm probably really tired and I've got to go get a nap. The other thing, and maybe I'm really hungry and I have to go eat something. That usually means that my energy is depleted and I have to do something about it. So I go and eat. Maybe it is, generally I should take a nap, but generally what I do is I push through it and just feel miserable the whole day until I actually go home and get a better sleep. It's very difficult to sleep for myself during the weekdays because my mind is racing throughout the weekdays. And so usually it's a Wednesday or a Thursday where I feel especially bad in terms of this loneliness kind of feeling. But then once you get to sleep, it does go away and it gets a lot better, right? So, or if you have something to eat, it's the same sort of thing. The other thing that I have done, or I do, is when I feel blue like that and lonely, I go for a walk. So being cooped up in your office or cooped up in your apartment, it's really important to get outside and go do something. So I might, might walk, I might go for a jog. It's just getting some sort of blood flow, getting other people around you, listening to different things, and you could still do your work along the way. So what I do is kind of like a circuit. So it's kind of funny, right? And being in Florida, it's a little bit more easier to do this, but I will do a circuit around campus, right? So I'll start and I'll walk, I don't know, maybe it's 1,000 paces or something like that. Take a break by writing something. I'll sit down and write for 45 minutes on my laptop. So in these days, you could do that kind of stuff a little bit more, or if you need a piece of paper, you can write it down on a piece of paper and then keep walking and finish this loop. And so after a couple hours, I come back and I feel great. In my office, I feel really energized, and I can keep going and doing the things that I'm doing. And that has really improved me in terms of how I feel. Sometimes what I'll do, and it depends on sort of the season and what's happening with me in my life and stuff. So sometimes I'll do a jog instead. So I'll go for a 25-minute jog, and it's just going around the campus, and you do feel much, much better after that moment. And so I'd highly recommend that in terms of that feeling of loneliness. Please try it, and you will thank me once you start doing that. The other thing that I would do when I'm feeling lonely or not feeling sort of part of anything is I go and try to interact with people. And I know it's especially hard when you're feeling lonely like that to go and interact with people, but it's important to go do that kind of stuff. So that's why the walk for me is really vital, because sometimes I do bump into people, and it just feels nice to actually chat with somebody when I'm going through that moment. And it's usually in the afternoon when I'm feeling sort of the lull that you do get that kick of feeling especially lonely. And that's an important thing, is just going and trying to chat with people and talk to people around you, even if it's just a few minutes. That really does help. A cup of coffee really helps me as well, because it's just a matter, that's a symptom. So this loneliness feeling is a symptom that there's something else going on, that your energy is being extra depleted. It also is sort of a symptom of you aren't getting, so loneliness is a signal that your body's sending you that you aren't getting enough social interaction. So you should go and try to get some sort of social interaction. So a couple of other things that I've done recently in terms of helping me out, other than the, exercise and things like that. So I've actually joined a exercise group here in Tallahassee. It's going across the nation right now. It's kind of growing exponentially. It's called F3. It's really fun. It's a male only thing. That's the only thing. But there's other exercise groups that you can do where you just interact with people and you just get to chat with other people. The other thing is, doing when you're home, don't just sit there. Just go and do things when it's your sort of day off and stuff like that. Go and actually do stuff, right? This is the time. This is what life is about. Don't forget that when you're doing your PhD, this is what life is about. It's not all about the PhD. It's going out and doing stuff and actually, having a life. That's going to be really important for you. So spending a good day where you are interacting with the world, however that's going to be, and that's going to help you get through this feeling of loneliness. And I know that some people are going to want to push through that every time. So this is my experience, and I've been doing this for a long time now. I started my undergrad in 1998, of all things, and whenever I start feeling especially down, it usually means that I've been working too hard, and I've been pushing too hard, and I've been pushing everything out. And every time that I go through those moments where I push other things away and I focus on just doing research alone, things start breaking down with me. So I start getting, either I start feeling rather alone or depressed or whatnot. And the other thing, I get injuries all the time. I remember getting a large number of injuries when I first started out. And so I make sure now it's important for me to get some exercise because I know that injury is going to happen. So the mindset to think about this is not you're taking away from doing your research or you're taking away from doing your work and, this is a bad thing. Think about it as risk minimization, right? So as a business professor, we teach or have to think about with companies, if you want performance to stay relatively high, you have to smooth that performance and sort of anticipate bad things from happening in the future. And one way to do that is risk minimization. So you might go and buy insurance, for example. Well, think of what you're doing when you're getting exercise, when you are making sure that you're doing things where you interact with the world so that you don't feel lonely, as risk minimization, where you're trying to keep yourself level so you don't have those moments where you're just kind of bottoming out and you don't want to do anything, right? So that's a really important tip. It's very important for me in terms of making sure that I keep going forward with what I'm doing. And so those are some really important tips in terms of feeling lonely during the PhD. And I'm sure that there's many others. You can leave comments below and give me a thumbs up on this video if you do like it. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel and just make sure if you're feeling especially lonely, do go get some professional help. It does work. Speaking from experience, it does work when you go and get professional help. The other thing is make sure that you just go and get some exercise, get some food in your belly, go get a coffee, go talk to somebody, just interact, be a normal person, put that work away and actually go back and, know that work is going to be there, but you can come back to it and know that this other part, so it's your body sending you a signal to go and actually do something where you are not feeling like that anymore. So that's an important thing. Go and do that thing, come back and go back to your research and maybe spend a couple hours doing that and you're gonna start feeling a lot better. I guarantee it, it works for me. I don't know how many other people it works for, but definitely it works for me, and that's how I deal with a lot of loneliness during the PhD. All right, so take care, have a wonderful day. See you on the next video, bye.